Hi, this is David O, and on my last video about Medium, I broke down and showed you the earnings for my most viral article ever, which is this one, which is the one word that explains why economic professors are not billionaires. Now, if you're a writer on Medium and you've not seen my previous video about the truth about earning money on Medium, you should go check it out. But today, I want to show you something that's even more interesting. I want to give you the anatomy of this article and what I believe made it viral. Now, this is not just exclusive to Medium. This is something that is because the article didn't just go viral on Medium, it went viral on LinkedIn, it went viral on some other platforms too that I had no idea about. Lots of people shared it with their email list without even my knowledge, and it went viral, viral, viral. And it's this is not like the TikTok kind of viral, which is like a lot of people just see it and then they swipe up to the next. But this is something that lots of people sat down to read. So this because this article is actually an 8-minute read, and from what you would see that majority of people sat down to read it. You can see the number of comments that it's actually very, very high, and see the number of reads. Let me show that to you. So this is number of views, this is number of reads. Now the number of reads is calculated by the people that view and stayed on the page for, let's say, something close to 8 minutes. Now it would not obviously be 8 minutes, but it has to be something close. I don't know what benchmark Medium was using or is using right now, but the fact that 53K people stayed on the page for at least more than 60 seconds. So that's a testament to, and this is something they read, it's not something they watch, this is something they actually sit down to look at and read. So that is actually something that commands a lot of respect and a lot of attention. And I want to just do the breakdown for you so that you can have an idea of what a winning story looks like. Now, since this, I have not had an article as big as this, and it, there could be various reasons for that. There could be the reasons that Medium has changed. For example, if I publish this story today with the current Medium, it might not go viral because if it's not boosted, then there is no way for it. There's virtually no way. It's possible, but I've not seen it work for anybody. So I would say it's rare and borderline impossible for it to go viral. But if it were boosted, I believe it will have almost the same effect. I believe it will have almost the same traction that it had in 2020 because it's actually a structure, it's actually a formula, and the formula is not like if you use it, you're going to get exactly this kind of result, but you are going to get something along these lines that will produce at least a fraction of these results, like I have. Since this article, I've had a lot of other viral articles. They are not as big as this, but they are also just as solid, and they did they did some numbers. So I want to show you the anatomy of it and the breakdown of it and how everything came together for me and give you the backstory of everything. Now, this story was actually written in June 19, 2020. That was the published date. So let's say, because I always write and publish almost instantly, so let's say my writing date for it was June 18. Let's just pick that at random, but it's going to be either 1 day or 2 day interval because that's how I work. And so let's say the day I wrote it was June 18, and I want you to mark that date on your mind. And so this is what the article looks like if you go open it and you go see it as a story on Medium. Now, this is what I'm going to show you. Before this date, I had an article that was published a few days earlier, which is this one, this article. It's also another viral article. As you can see, it has 11K claps and 72 responses, 72 comments. And what I want you to notice here is it was June 9, 2020. So because I remember what happened very clearly, this was an article that I was working on. So this was the article that I was working on, and I sat down to write it, and then I completed it, and it felt so good. I believe it was going to go viral, and because I put a lot of work into it. I worked on this title for a very long time before arriving at this title. It was one of the titles that took me a long time to arrive at, and this was the work. Okay, so this was the work that I had put aside for that particular period and that month. This was the thing that I believed that was going to go viral. So shortly after I published this, I think it was almost immediately after, maybe 1 day after, or just a couple of hours after, I had the idea for this article. And the idea was just, why not compare economic professors and billionaires in an article? That was just a simple idea. It's why not do the comparison? And I've learned from experience that whenever I have an idea like that, that's an article idea that I can implement immediately, I instantly go to work. I don't postpone it. I don't make plans and then just keep it aside. I instantly got to work on this particular article. And what made this special from the first, because when I do these things, when I work on articles, especially when I work on titles, I work on them, I write the article, then there's a title, then I go back to edit the title. So when I work on them, I work on them one step at a time, But this one was just spontaneous. So this title was something that I had to work my way into. While this one just the title came with it. So I didn't have to change this title after I finished the article. So this was what it came as. Like, this was what the inspiration came directly as. And when you have such things like that, do not ignore it. So this is the first lesson. Don't ignore something like this. If you have something come to you exactly like that, just pick it out and note what the strong factors are in whatever title it is. Now, what is the most important in this title? What is the most important in this story is the contrast. And this is one of the 4 elements of a viral content that I teach to my clients, even though I have no courses about it and I don't plan to create one. But one of them is contrast. And contrast is when you compare 2 ideas that are seemingly connected, but also that people don't use in the same frame. So this is when you compare 2 ideas that people don't use in the same frame, but they are actually connected. For example, economic professors and billionaires. One thing connects both of them, and that is money. And they are on 2 different spectrums. So this article brings those 2 factors, those 2 groups together in one idea. And I think that this is, from title alone, you will be sold on the concept of what the article is. And this formula of using contrast has always been successful everywhere I used it. When I use it for clients, it's always been successful. Some may not go as viral as others, but it always produces some kind of virality if done well, because it has to be 2 things. You can't compare, for example, trees and stones. That's too far. They have to be connected in some way. But in another context, you can connect them. If you're talking about a particular place, if you're talking about a particular area, you can compare maybe trees and the stones in a particular area based on a few things. But generally, you don't compare those 2 things. You compare things that are connected in some way. Preferably, there is something that connects the 2 things together. And this is why this article is very, very... Now, this article is the strongest I have of that kind of situation. And that's why I think it's my biggest article. And if it wasn't published on Medium, it doesn't matter what platform I would have published it, I still think it will have succeeded a great deal. So what happened on Medium was, like, this article went viral first. This one went viral first. It was going viral. In fact, when it started going viral, I was a bit concerned because I was releasing this article shortly afterwards. And I was a bit concerned about that. But nevertheless, I did it. And I found out that it blew up almost... it blew up both of them. It didn't stop the first one, and the second one also had its chance of being successful. Perhaps they even helped each other in some way. So that was what happened then. Now, with the new changes with the Medium, will it have happened that way again? I don't know, and I don't have a thesis on that yet. So let's go into the meat of the article. I will show you what the structure is like. So the second thing you notice here after the title is the image. Now, this is extremely important as a then, but right now I'm not sure how important it is on Medium. But generally speaking, on any kind of media, your header image, the image that introduces people to your article or to your landing page or whatever it is that you're building, that image is extremely important. Now, I carefully picked out this because I looked for it for a while. It's one of the things that takes my time a lot in looking for the right image, looking for the right picture. So I took my time in looking for this particular picture. And when I saw it, I knew that this article was going to be a winner when I saw this, because it fits perfectly with the title. And this is just to give you a caricature or the idea and the concept of an economic professor. So instead of me going with the billionaire archetype, I leaned towards the economic professor archetype, so that, because in the article I talk more about economics and the flaws that I consider existing within the framework of economics. So this is like an economics professor who is like maybe thinking, who is considering a thought or something like that, or who is pondering about something. And that idea is very, very strong with this image, and it makes a whole lot of difference in making this article go viral. So that's important. The first thing that I started with, I didn't go directly into the comparison. I first broke down the reason why it is important for the reader, and this is very crucial, because you have to make the reader understand that why does this make sense to you, why does this make sense for you, why do you need to listen, why should you care. And that's the first thing I did in the first paragraph. I broke all of that down and I explained my thesis. Now, one thing I used to do when I write articles like this is that if I have something that is clickbaity in the title, I reveal it very quickly, so that people are not, because I want people to be reading satisfied, not reading in the sense that they're searching for something. So, for example, the title says the one word that explains why economic professors are not billionaires. And if you see in the first paragraph, if you go to the fourth line and the start of the sentence there, which is there is one word in the definition of economics that is the root of the problem, and that is the word scarcity. So I've given them the one word they are looking for. Now this is at the point where they can quit. They can say, oh, the word they are looking for is scarcity. But that's where the suspense begins. So anyone who is really interested, this is where real interest begins. So you can continue. If you continue reading from there, it's because you want to be there. You want to read it. And it's not like there's something you're actually looking for that is buried within the article. So this is very important. If you are doing something, if you're doing a title like this that has an element that somebody is looking for something, give them what they're looking for immediately and set the tone, set the suspense for the needs of the, so that they can enjoy the rest of the article and not be like, oh, I'm looking for something that is missing. So I gave them the word and I gave them why I think it's important. And economic professors look to manage what is. They cannot think of possibilities of abundance, hence they find it difficult to amass wealth or become billionaires. And that's something that I have observed. And I said it doesn't end there. Of course, that's the cliffhanger that connects to the rest of the article. And I don't do this anymore because it really doesn't matter if the article is not so long, but if it's long, it's still very useful. And I've seen blogs that do this and it's extremely useful, which is the table of contents. And this is a kind of foreshadowing that gives you everything you're going to see in the article. So for example, if you are just curious about one part of it, you can just scroll down and find that one part and go to read it. But this is just a full transparency that, okay, this is all it's all about, and then there is a conclusion at the end. If you don't want to read anything, you can just go straight to the conclusion and read the conclusion. And most people, if they are really interested in the article, they will read everything. And that's what I've noticed, that's what I've observed. And this is not my only article that has this. There were lots of my articles around this time. This was the structure that I used for all of them before the new medium changes, and then I got busy with a lot of other things. So this is the structure, and then from there I just went on with my old thesis and then just break down everything that they need to know, my understanding of it, my research, my thinking, my opinion, and I added a little bit of story in it, and the story part is also important. And then now get towards the end, I brought back the factor of it being connected to the reader, why this is important for the reader. And you can see the title here, your financial future is not connected to the state of the economy. And that's a thought, that's an idea, that's an explanation that I had to make. And if you notice that I set the tone for another thing, so there's one word at the beginning, then there's another one word here that is at the end that people would want to look forward to and find, and then you'll find out that that word is abundance, which is in bold. And I ended the article on a very positive note and on a very happy note, which is something that is important to a lot of people. because people want to be optimistic and people want to feel something at the end of something. So if you just give people knowledge and you just give them logical thinking, that's nice, that's fine, but it doesn't because they are just reading and they will read other things and they will listen to other things and they will hear other things. So you have to leave them with a kind of feeling, a feeling that they have gotten something, or a feeling that they are now thinking in a certain way, or they have the permission to think in a certain way. And then there is the conclusion, which is supposed to be short and straight to the point and answers the question of the article. And if you see, it's so precise, so straight to the point. Where economic professors, not billionaires, is because they think within the box of existing available resources. They are financially logical. If you want to be super rich, you have to be financially illogical. Think illogical, do illogical. And that's pretty much the summary of the entire article. And yeah, and I published it, and it's been very, very, very successful even to this day. So we go back to the stats. As you can see before, as you have seen before, it's a very, very successful story, and it continues to get a lot of traction, a lot of reads even today, even though it's more than 4 years now, I guess. So that's the anatomy of the story, and that's the breakdown of it. And I hope that you can be able to take the lessons from here and use them in your own context, whether you're doing a blog or an article or a video or whatever it is that you're doing for your content and for your remote wealth and income and earnings. Thank you.